Welcome to building a digital presence for an arts business specifically, where we're taking out examples, apps, services, all the things that are very much geared towards building that presence around your existing arts business, whether that's performing arts, visual arts, tactile arts, whatever your arts business is. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some kind of solution in here for you. My name's Dante St. James. Before we get underway, I'll just quickly share my screen and we'll be started. There we go. It's working nice and easily this morning. Wasn't quite so good yesterday when I did a webinar. Now, I'm just going to swap over cameras as well, so I have a much clearer vision. It does really affect the recording. So just one second, I'll swap over to this one. There I am, right up there. I've got multiple cameras and lights and all that sort of thing going on around here. So please excuse me if I don't look straight down the barrel of the camera at some times, but I'll do my best to keep engaged with you. Let's get underway. Quote from Andy Warhol, who is unashamedly commercial in his art. Making money is art and working is art, and good business is the best art. And he certainly did really well in all those areas. Certainly a prolific artist, someone who's very memorable, and seemed to make a lot of money out of it as well. What we're going to look at today is thinking ahead as an arts business. So we're going to go looking sort of into the future of what you think you might want or need in the future. The importance of getting organized, the idea of a digital portfolio, social media properties that have some purpose to them, and especially ones that are in the right place, doing the right thing. We'll also look at the role of email marketing and planning your marketing out so that, especially your social media marketing, so you're not getting overwhelmed or losing your way in amongst all the messages that are growing out there on most social media platforms today. This is brought to you by Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program. It's delivered in Western Australia by Business Station, Regional Development Australia, Brisbane in Queensland, and Treaty Business Consulting in the Northern Territory. You can also watch this later on the Business Station or my own Dante St. James channel on YouTube. And if you are watching this on YouTube right now, after the live thing that I'm doing right now on Zoom, which is a reminder too, if you're on the Zoom at the moment, we've got quite a few people who are. You can use the Q&A window, the chat window, they're both open, so feel free to use them. I'll answer those questions live as we're going along as well. In the meantime though, YouTubers, whack something in the comments below, and please do like, comment, subscribe to these channels that we're on, because it helps us and encourages us to do more of these free tools and free resources to help as many small businesses out in Australia as we possibly can. Bit about me before we get too stuck underway. I've done my marketing and business information systems degree and masters at University of New South Wales in Sydney, with the Chartered Institute of Marketing, doing a number of diplomas, certificates, and advanced diplomas and postgraduate diplomas. And through TAFE New South Wales, I tend to do a lot of remote learning for what I call micro-credentialing, little skills I want to keep myself sharp on the way. Working with Facebook Australia as a lead trainer, a digital marketing associate, and a media planning professional, and with the Google's Digital Springboard project, in conjunction then with the Be Connected program in the Australian government, and two big Australian government programs I work with. This one, the ASBAS Digital Solutions, and the New Business Assistance with NICE in the Northern Territory. So, thinking ahead as an arts business, what you're thinking of doing in the future, and the kind of capacity, I guess, in a digital sense, that you need to be planning for. We asked the question, where do you see your particular arts business in, say, 1 year? Do you see yourself as having some kind of more stable growth? We expect that the COVID crisis may be a little bit less present in our lives in a year's time. How about 5 years' time? Are you ready to be in the position where your art is still relevant, where you are still motivated, where you're still promoting yourself and still active in the broader arts marketplace in 5 years? And then how about beyond that into the future? We think then of the things we can do now that position you as an arts business to continue to be able to serve clients, and most importantly, serve your own creativity over the long haul, not just for this year, not just by getting an Instagram account, but being able to do much more over the future. Think about the goals you want to aim for. Is it more collectors of your works? Is it more tickets sold to your events? Is it more exposure to your art and to your work? More publicity, which is a kind of exposure too, I guess. Are you looking to do a lot more shows once COVID kind of clears and we're all vaccinated and we're on the road to recovery? Do you want to do more shows? Are the more sales of what your art is, whether it's reproductions, prints, or originals? And also those people who have already collected some of your work or who are subscribers to your shows, or regulars who are always turning up to everything you do you want them to keep coming back? Do you want more repeat work coming from those people? And ultimately, do you want less work overall? When there's less work overall, that's when you can go, you know what, I really am looking for something that's going to be a little bit less than just doing the same old, same old. Keep that working, going and going and going. I want to actually sort of stand back a bit and maybe clear your inventory, or maybe do just a little bit less work, but more stuff that's sellable online. Basically it all comes down to growth. Whatever of those particular ideas you want to follow, whether it's tickets sold or exposure, more shows, more sales, it all comes down to growth of your business. Not just growth of your artwork, but growth of the business that's going to generate that revenue that supports you being able to do your art. Now, not everyone is doing this full time, so they may think that, okay, it's not quite so important for me to get on top of this right now. But some of you are full time in the arts business, and whether it's visual arts, whether it's performing arts, whether it's any of the arts, really, anything that involves you taking your creativity and selling it. Even a graphic designer is an artist of a kind. Then it comes down to having some kind of business growth. And the growth of an arts business, like any business really, requires a level of strategy. It also requires a level of effort, and I'm sure you're already doing that. And it also requires having the right tools. Just like if you're painting, you need the right acrylics, you need the right brushes, you need the right palette, you need the right easel. Everything needs to be just right to produce what it is you produce. Or if in the case of you being a dancer, for instance, you need to have the right shoes, the right tights, the right clothing, the right access to the right venues to be able to practice your particular art. So let's explore the main things that we cover, I guess, in the working out of your arts business. You're already doing the effort, you're already doing the stuff, you're already making the art. Now we're going to explore your strategy and your tools. So we talk about, I guess, scheduling yourself, which is an important part of the business of arts. It's getting beyond just simply going, I do my art. It's going more towards, here's how I actually organize and arrange my time as an artist. So the art career may be flexible, but it does require a lot of self-management. Your art career may have long lead times to produce things, particularly if you're being commissioned to produce a piece of art. But they approach fast, those deadlines, don't they? They really do come up without you noticing. Creativity is not always going to be present. Like, it's not always going to be easy to get that creativity, but you kind of have to get that creativity present. And I guess it's things like, I think it was a message from Picasso, like a quote from Picasso, where he just said, you know, sometimes you don't feel like doing the work, but you do the work anyway. And in those places is where you find the depth of yourself as an artist and the new creativity and the new ways of expressing yourself when you do the art, regardless of whether you feel or not. I guess that the myth we have of artistic expression, which it always has to be inspirational instead of actually perspirational. A calendar or a diary may seem really simplistic and really, really obvious, but it is the first and most simple step towards organizing yourself. But of course, it takes more than just a calendar on the wall to be able to get yourself organized. It involves you also blocking time. So time blocking is a thing that I guess one of my previous contracts taught me how to do. And it was about setting up a daily schedule for myself where I block out times for very specific things. So an hour of my day is blocked out for purely reactionary things, things that come up suddenly. So it means that even though it's very easy for me to be completely booked out every single day of the week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., even Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the reality is I've still got to leave time to catch up, support, chat with people, do my sales. So there's 2 hours of my day that are completely blocked out just for one is marketing from 1 hour. I market myself and manage my marketing and check my marketing for 1 hour every single day. And it's very important because that's my work in the future. That's creating my pipeline of additional work. I might not be an artist, but I still have deadlines. I still have work that I need to do. So that's a really good way to start. Then you start blocking out the chunks of time for specific things you do. My reactionary time, that's 1 hour, usually around the middle of the day, if I've not put it in the start of the day, depending on how busy I expect myself to be. And then I go, well, if there's other tasks I need to do which are not client facing, they're not things like webinars, they're not things like one-to-one advisory sessions, then those things need to be blocked out. I need to block out maybe 2 hours to get a project done. To build a website, I might need to block out an hour a day for 5 days to get the basic bones of that website going. So when you time block, what you're saying is that I'm making a priority at that time to do this one specific thing. No matter what else is going on in the world, no matter what else is crumbling, whatever is canceling, whatever comes in, I need to be able to own my time. Now, clients don't tend to want you to own your time. They want you to be, they want to own your time. They want to control your calendar and control your time, which is great because a calendar will help you do that. But a scheduling system is what's needed to be able to, I guess, funnel people into the available time that you have. So you do need more than just a daily to-do list when it comes to this because life is complicated. You're not just working in a silo. For instance, you need to work for clients, for contracting organizations, for employers, for all kinds of people. So what you need is a scheduling system because you've got submission deadlines you may need to reach. There could be exhibition dates you're aiming for. There's the dropping off of materials, art installations, costumes, whatever you need to drop off. There's logistics involved, pickups of all those things after an exhibition. Then there's all your marketing that you need to do. And then there's actually the doing of commissions. So in between all the freestyle artwork you're doing, the artwork you're doing that's all part of your regular creative process, on top of that, excuse me, you've also got to then allow yourself time to do commissioned work. So that's the work that you then do that people ask you to do. Clients come across for that, not just people buying your existing work. There's client contact then, of course. So you're going to get all sorts of questions from clients. You're going to get communication you have to have with clients. There's returns. There's all those sort of things. And then, of course, your publicity cycles, because arts definitely do have seasons and they are all around things like festivals, they're around events, they're around, particularly in where I am in Darwin, this middle of the year is when all the art seems to be concentrated in because that's the time when people are out and about and doing things. When it gets to the hotter part of the year, everything seems to shut down a little bit more and it's all about indoor events. So art exhibitions can happen any time of the year. But if you want to reach the biggest audience, you need to do it about the middle of the year because that's when there's more people in town, more tourists, etc. Although, as you can gather, I'm in lockdown right now, and chances are you probably are too. And that's sort of put a big hole in that for now. So a scheduling system then has the ability to be able to plan these things out. So you're not just blocking your time out, you're actually making allowances for things that need to happen over a period of time. Say, for instance, projects which take more than just a 2 hour block in the calendar, they could take ongoing work over a period of time. So that kind of thing, you need to ask yourself then, will I actually use a scheduling system? It's okay to go and get one. And I'm a king of going and getting systems and then not really using them because they're hard or they require more of my time to learn, or I just feel like they're controlling my life and they're breaking my creative, chaotic existence. The reality is, though, you need to have a scheduling system, but you might as well have one that you feel like you actually will use because just white knuckling it and going, yes, I will use it, I will use it, I will use it, is probably not going to work for you. Then ask yourself, particularly in the arts circles, and I get this not just in arts, but in people who are sports people as well, people who work in an area that's not the standard sit down at a desk and do a day's job at a desk kind of people. Do you actually prefer the chaos? Do you prefer that it's all swirling around you, that you don't really know what's going on and you don't really want to know what's going on? And you think calendars are for, the freaks in the office cubicles and that's not really for you. Well, then a scheduling system and a calendar probably isn't going to work for you. There may be other items that may work for you, but the reality is if you want to be organized, you have to be willing to be organized. And I don't know, that was a problem with me. I kind of enjoyed the hero aspect of, delivering a project at the last minute and getting the applause for it, and then being able to say, "Oh yeah, you know what? It took a lot of work, and we just got there in the end." It made me feel like a bit of a hero. That's not a great way to get work done, and it's certainly not a great way to build a business. So if you think you thrive in the chaos, it may be you that thrives in the chaos, but your business won't thrive in the chaos. Are you on the go, or are you based in one place? So if your arts take you to doing workshops all around the Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia, whole of Australia, overseas, even before we were, kind of banned from going anywhere, are you someone who has to be mobile all the time, or are you someone who's based in a central place where you're always producing your stuff? Are you connected to a theater? Are you connected to a studio? Do you have a studio actually in your home that you work from? I have a home office, for instance. So for me, having a calendar that I can use that's primarily designed for the desktop experience, and my big screens that are right here in front of me, my little screen down here, and my mobiles are over here, and a tablet that's over there, and another screen that's behind me over there at my housemate's desk. And we look at that and go, well, then the kind of scheduling system, the kind of calendars needed is going to be very different from someone who's primarily working off one of these guys. If you're primarily working off a mobile phone, you need a very, very different approach to how you're going to do it. And then finally, you need to ask yourself, are you the kind of person who's actually stressed out by calendars, stressed out by reminders? For me, a calendar is a place of calm and serenity because everything is very defined there. I don't have to think about it. If I don't have any time on that day, I simply don't have time on that day. If people are trying to get hold of me to go, can you please fit me in today? It's like, I actually can't. I literally will have to move other people to move you in, and I'm not willing to do that. Some people, though, are very stressed out by things like notifications and reminders. A lot of people have had to remove apps like Facebook or Instagram from their phones to avoid all the notifications coming up, not necessarily because they are stressed out by them, but they are put under pressure and they feel that they have to check that message. Like there's very little in the world that actually makes you absolutely have to check that Facebook Messenger message or have to check that SMS. There's very few things that are so earth shattering that you need to do it. For me, it's just as simple as taking my phone and turning it upside down and putting it face down on my desk at the times when I do not want to be disturbed by these particular things. When I've got work to do, I simply turn the phones over and I don't see the notifications. Of course, though, the notifications pop up on my desktop because it's connected through to my phones. So if I want to do that, there's do not disturb modes I can put my phone and my desktop computer into as well. I'll put it in a do not disturb, those notifications don't come up. And the world feels like a much more serene place where I can sit back and relax a bit and actually, well, not so much relax. There's still work to be done, isn't there? We still have to get the stuff done. So once you've asked yourself those questions, then you can start to approach different scheduling systems. Now, the first one we'll look at is Google Calendar. I personally use Google Calendar, even though one of my contractors is forcing me to use Outlook Calendar. I still integrate it into my Google Calendar because the Google Calendar is remarkably simple to use and very, very visual in its approach with a lot less clutter than what Outlook, for instance, would have. Your Google Calendar is free with a Google account. You can set up multiple calendars, and this is something most people don't realize. I have 17 calendars. I've got a personal calendar for all the birthdays and special events and reminders and anniversaries of all sorts of things in there, which is my personal calendar. Then I have my calendars for each of my contracts that I work on. So my ASBAS calendar, my niece calendar, my private clients calendar, my Facebook program calendar, my Google program calendar, and all of those feed into my one. I call it the one calendar to rule them all, the one source of truth, which is a calendar that then everything goes in with its availability and has to check against that calendar to make sure I actually do have the availability for something to drop into one of those other calendars going along. But of course, I have it set up that not just anyone can drop things into those calendars. In order to secure that time, you need to book it in through another system, which I have, which we're going to look at in a second. So setting reminders is really important. This is what tells you when you need to be working on the things that you need to be working on. Setting locations also important, because if you're on the go, if you're on the road, if you're using particularly an Android phone, but also an iPhone as well, you can tell you how long it's going to take you to get to the place where you need to get to and when you need to leave by. So it may say to you, you'll need to leave in 10 minutes if you want to get there on time. That to me is an ideal thing, because it lets me know, okay, it's measuring what the road transport conditions are right now through the many different Android phones out there and iPhones, feeding back that information to Google Maps to tell me that I will need to leave probably 5 minutes earlier if I want to be able to get to that place and that event on time. You can also leave people's contacts in an invitation so that then you're inviting other people to meetings. My own calendar is very featured with Zoom calls, Teams calls, Google Meet calls, phone calls, and it actually puts their details in there and automatically creates a Zoom video call event within the calendar entry. So both myself and the other person just click on that link and it opens up the Zoom call at the right appropriate time. In fact, you probably got something similar in a calendar message for this particular webinar as well. It's 100% online in the cloud, and everything you do in one is synced across all your devices. So if I do it on my desktop, I know that I can go to any other browser on my desktop, every other desktop machine, any other laptop, tablet, mobile phone, and everything will be synced across it. So if I've blocked out between, say, 12 o'clock today and 1 o'clock today, then that will be blocked off across all of my devices, all my calendars, and no one can then book in that time over the top of what already is being blocked out. So it's pretty handy to have. But I also use a system called Calendly, and Calendly, I think for arts businesses, is going to change the way that you accept how people book your time. It removes what I call the "Are you available" shuffle. So it's that whole thing of going, "Hey, I'm pretty much anytime this week," and then someone goes, "Oh, okay, so how about between 2 and 4 on Friday?" "Oh, actually, no, I've got something on then." And I go, "Okay, well, how about between Tuesday between 12 and 1?" Yeah, I could do that, but I've got another thing just before it that I can't get to you in time, so I can make it 12:30. And they go, actually, 12, that whole backwards and forwards, it is just a waste of time, and it's so annoying to go through it every time. Calendly takes that away, because it simply goes in and syncs with your Outlook calendar, your Google Calendar, Apple's iCal, and then shows your availability. So someone essentially goes in to an embedded calendar within your website, your email, or your email signature, clicks on the link, it opens up a page, and then they can see when you're available, what dates and what times. So then you don't have to then vet that, because it's already being put in your calendar. Now, one of the things it does do, which is really handy, is that if you can set how much break you can have between a previous item in your calendar and an available time in your calendar. Say, for instance, you prefer to have 15 minutes break between one call and the next, or half an hour break between one task and the next. It will obey that directive in Calendly. You just say, I need a buffer of 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after, in order to make sure that I'm not overcommitting myself to too many calls today. And when you've done that, of course, then it will obey that in your calendar. It will obey that in Calendly. It will only show the availability of the hour that you want to book, or the half an hour, plus half an hour before and half an hour after. If it butts up against anything else, it will reject that time and just say, no, these are the available times. You can have different lengths of availability, from 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, even for a really short call, up to many hours. And you can have many different event types. So for instance, I have about 17 different event types for the different kinds of things that I'm making allowances for, which allows me to say, if I'm having follow-ups with my clients in Broome, I give them to the end of July to book those, because after that, then the offer for the catch up with them expires. The same with the catch ups with people in Townsville and Cairns and Mackay that I visited in the last month. I have a certain level of availability up until the end of June that expires today, and they won't be able to book that free opportunity after July. So it's very, very flexible. It has a free basic features. It lets you have, I think, just the one event, and doesn't allow you to collect payments, which is actually one of the really good things. Is if you're a consultant in the arts, if you need to be paid for your time, you can collect that payment at the point of using Calendly. So they select the time they want, they make the payment, the calendar invite's sent out, the time is confirmed, and you get paid. So that's with a paid version of it, and it starts around about $10 US a month and kind of works up from there. I think it's actually a bit cheaper for the basics, but for the paid version, to get actual payments on it, it works at around about $10 a month, which is, in the bigger picture, not that much of a hassle for a whole lot of peace of mind and a whole lot of much more organized approach to running your business. And then, of course, there's the magic of a system called Asana. I don't personally use this one, but I have used it before. And we use it to plan out upcoming projects, to assign tasks to yourself, but also to others in your team who are your collaborators. You can set priorities and deadlines in there, some due dates. You can share notes and thoughts and feedback and ideas on each individual task. And it is free for you and your small team. And it syncs in, of course, with your Google Calendar, Apple iCal, and Outlook calendar as well. It's a really great way of keeping notes on all the things you do and tracking a project or a piece of art or a performance or an exhibition from the start of just planning it right through to the time when you want to have that thing completed, wrapped up, packed up, and all the artworks collected and taken away. So depending on what kind of thing you're trying to do, you may actually use all three. So for instance, the Google Calendar is your one source of truth for availability, whereas Calendly is the thing that allows you people to book in time with you. For instance, people try to call me on the phone randomly all day, every day, but I'm booked back to back. I can't just drop a webinar and say, oh yeah, I'll take this call, because that would be rude to the people on the webinar who have taken the time out of their day to be live interacting with me. At the same time though, I do need to call people back. So I need some sort of facility that says, hey, if you don't get me, please book in a time to call me at dantestjames.com or clickstarter.com.au, or whatever the direction is I want to go, where you can find a calendar to book in a call with me, and just be very polite about it, because you're saying essentially that, well, I don't have the opportunity to take a call right now. Like, a call literally just came in right now. Someone's badgering me to sell me something, and it's like, I can't take that call, and they know darn well that I can't take that call, and I'll never take a call from them. I've told them 100 times, don't randomly call me, because I'm not going to answer. Yet they continue to do it because that's the way they do business. I have an option on there for them to book in a time with me, and they never do it because they want to capture me as I'm unexpecting and by chance, so they have a higher chance of selling something to me. So taking control of your time is the first step to becoming far more in control of your arts business, because there's so many people all clawing for your time and your expertise and your attention for them as well. So now we move on to the website, and a portfolio website is probably what's most important to you. But you then ask the question, do I even need a website at all? Well, there's lots of reasons why you should have one, because it makes you findable on Google. Your clients can connect with you. It helps to showcase your work in a multimedia setting. You own the space on your website, which means you can put whatever you want on it. You don't have competitors or distractions on your own website. It's a hub for all your other places, such as social media platforms. You can sell your work on there, and you can take bookings as well. Things like Calendly can be embedded in there. You can't do that on social media so much. But of course, you'll be asking, well, I don't know how to build a website. It's too expensive to get one built. I don't have the time to learn to do it. That's all completely true and fine. But at some point, you need to make a decision. So that decision will need to be that, you need to figure out what it is you need, whether you're getting someone else to build it for you, or whether you're going to take the time out to learn how to build your own site. Work out what you mostly want to do. Do you want to showcase your work? Do you want to sell your work? Do you want to take bookings? Do you want to get more work? And that main purpose is going to color the kind of project you're going to go on to build your website, whether it's with someone else or whether you're going to build it yourself. So let's just say that you want to showcase a portfolio of your work. You'll need a very clean, minimal design. You'll need a lot of space for images and videos and audio, whatever your particular artwork happens to involve. You'll need that to be the hero of what you're doing. A very clear about me section helps Google to figure out who you are, which also helps Google to figure out how to take people from out there in Google and marry it in with your website. A very easy to find contact information page, even if it just says contact at the top, or a phone number or email address that they can contact you on, is going to be gold for you, because your clients don't chase you unless you're very famous already. And if you are, you probably shouldn't be on this webinar. But if you're also then listing things like exhibitions and shows, you can have a calendar of events that's on there as well. When it comes down to selling your work, then again, clear minimal design, and this is going to go across all the different types of work you'll do on a website for an arts business. We're looking at things like having, again, your images, your video, your audio, very much the hero of what you're doing, but you may also have a shopping cart on there. So it could be WooCommerce with WordPress, it could be Wix shops, it could be Shopify, it could be BigCommerce, whatever you're using to sell your artworks, that could be what you're using embedded into your website, and that becomes the point of what your website is. You're showcasing your work, but your work is for sale through a button here that they can initiate that sales process. Having things like shipping calculators and flat rates for your shipping may be helpful to you as well. One particular artist I work with in Darwin just decided to go, you know what, I've got a flat rate, I'm just allowing a certain amount of my price for everything I do is going to be based upon, I guess, the ability to then go, you know what, I need to be able to go, yes, I am going to put that into my price. So his cost of each artwork went up quite dramatically because he had to include enough postage in there to post to somewhere anywhere in Australia. And I've got one of his artworks on my wall over here, and that thing's probably about 1.5 meters high and about maybe 70 centimeters wide. So it's a very large thing. So you imagine trying to post that is not going to be the cheapest thing to do. You also need a returns policy, a really important part of when you're selling something online. If you want to take bookings, then clean minimal design is going to come up again and again. Having an events calendar or list, things like Calendly to take your bookings, or other systems that do the same thing. You may be able to embed third-party booking systems like Calendly or like Get Timely, or another one I use called NovoSync Time Sync. NovoCall Time Sync is the one I'm using. That's the one that's on my DanteStJames.com website, or my Clickstarter, one of my websites. I've got a few websites. There's also things like cancellation policies are very important to put on those kind of sites. And then finally, if you're looking just to get more work, then examples of your prior work are going to be what a lot of the space in your website is taken up by. A clear call to action for people who may wish to commission you to do things. Let's just say you're doing pet portraiture. Then, for instance, you have a lot of photos of the previous pet portraiture that you've done, and then you would have a clear call to action that says, here's how you can commission to do yours. Send me the photo. I'll send you back a quote of how much it will cost to do this portrait of your pet in the style that I do. Recommendations and testimonials can be a little bit scary for a lot of artists and those in the arts. That said, they are very, very important for showing credibility. Sometimes in the arts, you have to sort of scrimp and save and try to get that kind of credibility within the arts community itself. This is your way of showing credibility, both for the arts community, but also with clients who may be wanting to commission you to do work for them. And you need a very clear process, 1 to 4 steps. So step one, step two, step three, step four, that indicates to someone how they engage you to do work. How does this process work? Because chances are the first client that comes to you is not going to know how you work. They're not going to know your process. And so you need to educate them in what that process is. I'm doing a how to build more effective websites webinar coming up really soon, in fact, that will cover all that. So let me just quickly refresh my browser, because I'll be able to see and tell you what date that will actually be on. And we cover a lot of that sort of stuff, of that clear process for engaging you and how to get people to know exactly how you work on it. Unfortunately, I don't have it up yet, but it'll be sometime during July. Just check out asbas.com.au or businessstation.com.au, and you'll be able to book those webinars ahead of time as well. So we'll continue on. The next step we need to look at is, well, what are the platforms you can build a website on? What is a way that you can build a website that you can do it yourself, or you can then at least pay someone else to do it and you can pick it up later on? So we start to look at things like Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, a new product, well, not a new product, but it's new to me, called Format, and another product called Artwork Archive. Let's look at Squarespace first. Lots of templates that are made very much for specific things, such as artists, performers, designers, all that sort of thing. There's plenty of those available, and they're very geared towards exactly what you think they would be. There's domains can be purchased there. That's your web address. E-commerce, which is the selling part of it, can be done through Squarespace. You can host galleries. It starts at about $18 US a month as the most low level of it. This is a very popular thing with artists and very popular with designers because it is the templates and themes are very clean and very minimal. So they make you feel like your artwork is taking center stage, and rightly so. Then there's Wix, which is probably it is the biggest of the do-it-yourself website systems. All-in-one hosted solution, just like Squarespace. Tons and tons of themes and templates, just like Squarespace. You don't need to code or have special tech skills to be able to do this. It's pretty simple to do from scratch. They have gallery layouts and gallery plugins that help you to present your image and your video in the best possible way. You can use upgrades to be selling online through Wix stores, and it starts at about $13 US per month at the sort of the level you would need to do as an artist. Now that won't let you sell. It gets at around about $30 to $40 US a month if you want to sell. It's when you start to have the selling component come in that a lot of these platforms start to cost a little bit much more. Now the world's biggest platform for websites is WordPress, and there's two very different kinds of WordPress. There's the one you host yourself on your web hosting, and then there's the one that you that's self-hosted within WordPress's servers. There are endless themes and endless capabilities for this. Lots of support all over the place, costing you between $4 and $44 US per month, depending on what you need to get. Now, there is a free option to get you started at WordPress.com. If you want to try this one out for yourself, have a look at it, have a go, and see if it works for you. Some people find it too complex for themselves, but there's lots of tutorials and videos that will help you get through that as well. Format is geared towards photographers, so people who've got like businesses that sell prints or sell digital images. Really commonly used format. There's lots of free themes to choose from within the platform. It is very much based on portfolios. So if you've got a portfolio of visual works that you want to show off, format is excellent for that. It's free for 2 weeks to trial, and then it's US $12 per month ongoing at format.com. And then the final one we'll look at is Artwork Archive, which is not a website so much. It's like an online portfolio system. Then you can take that portfolio and embed it into other websites you've got. So if you use, say, Google Sites or Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, anything you like, and you don't like their layout, you want your one single online portfolio to be in Artwork Archive, it will do that. It'll also handle purchase requests, but not necessarily purchase of themselves. So you'll then send a request off to say this person's interested in this artwork. You can then, have a conversation with them about the purchasing of that artwork. About $6 per month going on. You may find that you don't need it because there's a lot of the things that happen within Artwork Archive that also work completely fine in the website platforms themselves. Social media needs to be approached with a very strategic point of view rather than just the chaos and the I'm producing social media here in a big clump one week and then you won't hear from me again for 6 months. We want to avoid that. Social media is essentially your amplification for everything you do. For everything you do in real life, social media is a process that lets you amplify that out to a far broader audience, whether that's through organic or paid stuff. But you do have to ask yourself, in realistic terms, is the social media platform you want to use easy for you to use? Do you find it simple to be able to use? Is it something you can do without really having to think too much about or take too much effort on? Then you look at, what is the platform that you enjoy using the most? And where is the target audience you're trying to sell to? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on something else? And then which do you see yourself actually using in the future? Which of these many myriads of social channels do you really see yourself dedicating a bit of time to using? And also, which platforms are just a plain distraction? These are things that you go, like, no, I'll tell you now that this is just not going to work because I'm just going to get distracted the minute I get in there. That for me is pretty much mostly Facebook and LinkedIn are my distractions, and I often have to close them down when I'm not using them, because if I see something come up, I've got a stupid notification coming up on LinkedIn right now. I've got a message from Katie, I've got a message from Karen. I don't need to answer all those. I'll have to get back to those again later because things have changed dramatically. And also, you know, whether you can dedicate time to those. Now, the reality is the big hitters in social media are Facebook, uh, Instagram. They're the two big hitters. YouTube as well, Pinterest, and these days, TikTok. It cannot be ignored either. Now, you don't need to be on all of these. And remember, we were asking those questions before of what's easy for you to use? Where's your target audience? What platform do you enjoy using? What ones do you actually feel yourself using? Now, I need to avoid TikTok and only use it at certain times because it's very, very addictive and gets me very much. I can lose 2 hours in there just watching short videos, look up and go, oh my goodness, it's 5 o'clock. Where'd the time go? Same with YouTube. I cannot play YouTube in the background while I'm doing work or have a TV playing in the background because it just messes with everything. It just means I don't get my work done and I'm just not, giving the attention to my work that I need to. So out of those big hitters, you've got to pick one or two or three that you're going to realistically be able to use, and that may not be all of them. So when we approach social media, then we look for tools that are going to help us make better social media. And some of those tools can be creative tools, usually creative tools on mobile phones. And creating on your mobile can use tools such as Framelapse. This is a really cool one. There's also Hyperlapse for the iPhone as well. This one's on Google Play for Android, and it lets you do time-lapse videos of your work. So it'll be time-lapse for maybe doing your warm-ups if you're a dancer, time lapse for the setup and pull down of stages if you're an on stage performer. If you're a painter, the time lapse of you producing a painting or some work on a painting over a period of time. If you draw, having a camera focused on the paper or on the canvas can be a really good way of you showing your process. And people really do get fascinated by this because most of us don't paint, draw. Most of us don't dance or sing. Most of us are just fascinated and absolutely fixated on people who are able to do these things and do them well. So it's always helpful for you to be able to show them how that works, show them a peek behind the curtain about how you operate as an artist. Framelapse then gives way to something more, I guess, practical than necessarily recording a time lapse, and that's Afterlight, which is an image editing app. There's lots of image editing websites you can do on desktop machines, such as Canva, which I use all day, every day. Stencil is another one. Crello. Then you can use more standard desktop systems such as Photoshop, Lightroom, um, Adobe Premiere, and Adobe Illustrator is another one, plus InDesign. They're all layouts and that you design and draw things on your desktop. But when it comes to the mobile, Afterlight is a great little app that allows you to enhance your photos, allows you to put filters on your photos. You can crop, you can resize, you can add light sources. It allows you to take a photo that you might have taken and then add additional things to it to just make it look a little bit better. And also to make it look, I guess, a little bit beyond just what an Instagram filter will be able to do for you. Vsco is a very popular app for Instagram influencers, and it comes with preset filters, photo editing, and a creative community that you can show off your stuff. It's free to start with and up to about $20 a year in US dollars to be able to use on your mobile phone. This one is probably, think of it as an extension of Instagram, really. You take what you can do on Instagram, it does a little bit more than that. You can have a lot more filters and a lot more adjustments that often happen in that sort of so they're showing there like a wheel. There's a wheel interface that allows you to change color, saturation, all those kind of things that allow you to better portray what you're doing in the style that really suits you. And then we move on to what I call the email newsletter. Now, email newsletters, do we even read them anymore? Do we even need an email newsletter? Because let's face it, only about 18 to 20% of emails on lists actually ever get opened. But the ones that do are remarkably good at converting sales. So the advantages of having a newsletter are things like you own your own newsletter. You can put whatever you like in it. You can showcase your latest work. You can invite people to view and buy your works or book them. You can have e-commerce directly embedded in there. So for tools like Shopify, you can actually embed a product into your email so that people can just click on it and actually buy it right then and there. You can track who's opening your emails, or whether there's just not that many people opening it, or whether you know that particular email got a lot more engagement than this one. And so what that will tell you about what you may need to change of the content of your email. You can retarget your higher value clients. And this is important because then it allows you to go, well, I've got these particular clients that are ones that open everything I do, or I've got this particular segment of my database that I've segmented out for a special email list, which is just for the most high value people. You can then send through more, I guess, direct things. So if you've got you've got people who collect your work, then you can have them on a special list. They get a special subscription of email newsletter that's more personal and more direct, for showing how they can increase maybe their collection of your work. And it allows you to nurture relationships with people by coming into their email box and then wanting to actually see you in the email box. That's a way from the show that they really do appreciate what you do. It takes an effort. It takes not a huge effort, remarkably, not a huge effort, but it takes some effort for someone to go, you know what? I'm actually going to put my email address and my name in this box and let that person know I want to receive their stuff. Now, they may get rid of you later on. That's up to them. That also handled by systems like MailChimp. So it allows you to be compliant with things like the Spam Act of 2003, the Privacy Act of 1990 something, or 1988, I think it is, and allows you to put sort of a drag to drop building of an email layout, which is really nice. So you can have all sorts of different kinds of messages in there. You can add content in from outside sources or just write it in yourself. You choose who gets it. I was talking about segmenting before, the idea of taking out, here's all my clients or all the people who I want to talk to. Over here is my special people. I can pull them out of the main database and just have them over here where I send them a very different one. So you can have different lists within there. There is a free plan, but it is very limited, up to about 5,000 contacts, I believe, which for most people that will fit. And it will imprint the MailChimp logo at the bottom of your emails as well. If you want to remove that, then it's going to cost you at least, excuse me, getting really hot in here, $9 a month it's going to cost you. So that's, you've got to make sure that you are, ready for those features. You need to upgrade to get them. It's about the same price as most of the platforms out there, like MailerLite, or some of the other ones. Trying to think of them now. Sendinblue. Those are specific email sending platforms. But then there's your more monitoring and nurturing platforms, the ones that have processes inside them, like Campaign Monitor or Active Campaign. Now, it does build the email, it manages your list much the same way that something like MailChimp will do. But they do have better professional design templates, I think. And you can also connect your online store. So if you're selling artworks or you're selling, tickets to something, you can embed those into your into your emails, so that when the email goes out, people can actually see those products or those bookings or those events and interact with them right there within the email. Plans do start at $9 a month US. And you can find out more about Campaign Monitor, which I think is a great place to start, .com. The other one I would look at too, because it's, I think, a little bit cheaper for the actual, beyond just the email management and the what we call email marketing automation, which is that nurturing at different sort of levels of, if a person opens this email, jump them to this part. If they don't open this email, send them a reminder in 3 days. That kind of process is really well handled by another thing called Constant Contact. So Constant Contact, Campaign Monitor, Active Campaign, they're all very good at being able to do these kind of tasks. Then we look at a process called marketing planning, and I'm not talking about making a marketing strategy or all that, although the problem is, I guess, that, you ask yourself, do you even need a plan? Because there's a way of approaching a marketing plan that's very, very specific. So for instance, if you go, am I planning for a strategy of how I'm going to do my marketing over the length and breadth of my business? Or am I just looking at this tactic, I'm going to do Motivation Monday, I'm going to do Throwback Thursday. They're just little tactics you can do that you may feel that they add some value to your presence in the marketplace on social media. A plan helps you decide whether you're going to have a strategy behind what you're doing. So that's saying, I want to go from 100 followers to 2,000 followers in 12 months. And here is how step by step I'm going to get there and do that. And with measurements along the way that you measure yourself against. And if you fail to get them, well, then you punish yourself, I suppose. And if you get there, you celebrate and have a bottle of wine, something like that. Doing this also helps you to make every post count. So you're not just blindly putting together posts in Canva and sending them off to Facebook and going, oh, well, there's another ticked box. You're actually making sure that your posts mean something. They actually have some kind of purpose behind them rather than just filling a gap and just throwing content out. There's also needs to be a good spread, and you can plan for that of engaging, educating, and with exciting. That's where you have a good spread of the different kinds of outcomes you'd like from your post. So an engagement post would be something, for instance, that gets attention. A educational post is obviously something in which you want to educate your audience in a particular thing that you do, or a particular service that you provide, or something completely out there to do with what you do. An exciting post then is not exciting as in rah, 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 I'm so excited. It's more about the excitement as in it inspires, it causes a response. So someone will respond to what's happening in that email or in that post or in that message they got from you. So it could be to buy something, it could be to subscribe to something, it could be to reach out to you and book a time with you. Any of those things, it could be an excitement post. Also, having a plan helps you to make sure you're not being too repetitive and you're not doing the same thing over and over every week. There's one particular Facebook group, a business group I'm in, where every Wednesday this same post has been coming up every Wednesday for 3 years, and it's got this very unattractive man doing a very unattractive smile and going, yay, it's free for all Wednesday and you can post whatever you want on Wednesday. It's marketplace day and it's time to celebrate. And I'm not really celebrating the fact that I need to put a post up in a group that has no engagement in it and no one's reading all that stuff. So it actually turns me off the group because it is too repetitive, because it's automatically processed every single week in, week out. The process of testing whether what you're doing is actually working, measuring to see if it's working, and then adjusting if it's not, or adjusting if it is, to be able to do, I don't know, to do more of the same if it's working or less of the same if it's not working, is a part of planning for what your social media is going to be. Knowing how you're doing is ultimately important, because you don't want to be wasting time doing things that aren't working. And too many small businesses are doing exactly this. They're wasting hours and hours and hours every single week trying to produce social media posts that nobody wants to see, because nobody's particularly interested in the nuts and bolts of your business. They may be interested in nuts and bolts of what you do, but you're just telling them what your specials are, what you've got available this week, a new gizmo or widget that's arrived in the shop this week. It's not particularly engaging for people. So what you want to do is streamline down to the things that work and chuck out the things that don't, but give yourself time to test new ideas in social media. So you essentially get to the point where your time is so streamlined that you're not wasting time anymore on social media. The time you're spending is very, very geared towards getting the result you want to get out of it. And of course, when it comes to working on social media itself, ultimately, social media is not the goal of your business. It's the art. It's the process of doing the art. It's a process of the performance that you want to get out of that. So it's not getting in, spending hours every day on social media. You want to be putting that into your art. You want to be doing that in your craft. You want to get in, you want to get out, you want to save time. Some of the tools that help you do this, a couple in there that I use myself. So Buffer, for instance, is a very good way of scheduling things ahead, but also streamlining so that you are then not just scheduling for Facebook, but you're also scheduling for Instagram, for LinkedIn, for other platforms like Pinterest, for instance, and sending out things to multiple places all at once. Now, some strategists on social media say, oh, that's a bad thing to do because it doesn't respect the audience in each place. I would say that if you had a marketing team and if you had a large marketing budget and you had all the time in the world to be spending on your marketing for your arts business, that might be an important thing. The reality is you need to be very efficient and very effective with the time you spend on social media, because it's not the core of what you do. Your art, your craft, that is the core of what you do. So using things like Buffer and Hootsuite to be able to do one thing once and send out to multiple locations is actually good use of your time. Then there's the tools that are built into Facebook, such as Creator Studio, which allows you to do Facebook stories, Facebook feed posts, Instagram feed posts as well, and schedule them ahead, be able to see how they perform. So you can go, okay, I need to make changes to that in the future, or I need to do more of that in the future and less of that in the future. And the other one is Business Suite, which is part of Facebook, which allows you at the same time to post to both Facebook feed and Instagram feed as well, and schedule that ahead of time. It doesn't allow you to repeat those schedules. There's other tools that do that, such as I would think Sociomonials. Um, One I use is Social Pilot. Another one I have used is Sendable. They will allow you to do sort of repeating posts. So you repeat that post in 7-8 weeks time, or the third Tuesday of the month after 3 months. So you can put in instructions to repeat that same post to go out there again at a time when it's unlikely to clash with someone who may have already seen that post in the past. So then we look at what is next when it comes to your arts business. Now, the ASBAS Digital Solutions program is coming to a very rapid end. So the idea here is that if you wish to book myself or any one of the other participating advisors for July, when the program will end on the 30th of July, you need to do that today. Today is the last day you can actually book in a one-to-one appointment. After today, the signing ups, the registrations, the ability to be able to book someone will close. So if you want to book someone in July, myself included, and I've got limited availability now in July. So if you'd like to book me, feel free to do it, but you do have to do it in July. You can do that through asbas.com.au or businessstation.com.au. If you want to have a bit of a guide through that process, you'll have to do it really quickly because we need to do that today. You can feel free to email me at dante@treaty.com.au. Or visit me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, and I'll hopefully be able to get back to you very, very shortly. I do have a big day of reporting as end of financial year day today. My accountant's on top of me, my bookkeeper's on top of me, ASBAS is on top of me. Everyone I'm working to is needing a report. So once I get off this webinar, I'll be knuckling down really hard and just typing on the keyboard. But I just want to, I guess, end this by saying I hope you're well. If you're in a lockdown state or a lockdown city like I am at the moment, that you're taking the time to do the things you can, doing your exercise, getting up out of your seat, making sure you look at the view that's around you, even if it's just out the window to the neighbors next door. Check in on your friends, check in on your neighbors, and I guess help this to be a more bearable time for everybody. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your business today to work on your arts business. I really do appreciate the time you spent. And ultimately, I really hope I'm doing a whole lot of these webinars right through July as well. You will be able to book those right through July. That booking is not being taken away. It's just booking myself and the other advisors in a one-to-one capacity will be ending after today. So I do wish you all the best if I don't see you again. But in the meantime, if you are around in July, I'll see you in the next one.